all right. Finally, Van Imp does get it in. Flips it to Gilbert. Knocked down in front by Vadnais. Wound around to O'Reilly. Four check by Clark. Schultz breaks it up. Schultz behind the net. Centers. Flat. Tries to Clark. Shot. Oh! Rebound! Score! Bobby Clark scores!
Scores the game winner at 12 minutes and 1 second.
Well, we want to thank everyone to our inaugural first. Here we go. We want to thank our first inaugural premiere podcast of Talking with Cuz. My name's Carl Candello. I'm here in California with my great cousin, my brother from another mother, back in New Jersey. And a little bit of background of us that we have bonded over many years from our love of sports and Flyers, hockey that we just showed you that little clip. But we've been talking about sports, our love of sports, be it hockey or baseball. And we've been talking it all the time, but now with finding out about this new technology that we're finally saying, why don't we do a podcast and be able to bring up, historic events for us in our life that we witnessed. And so I'm going to introduce you to my cousin Vince Ferrari.
Hello, cuz 2,600 miles away.
2675 to be exact.
There it is.
So that particular clip, where were you? It was historic in one sense that we had got to do a back story on that hockey was in Philadelphia as a minor league back in the 60s. There was a team called the Ramblers that I would go to every once in a while with my dad and other cousins.
At the arena.
Yeah, at the arena, the 45th Market in Philadelphia. But then with the advent of this team that's coming into the National Hockey League that comes into Philadelphia, that we basically fell in love with it and watching the initial broadcast of some of the games, and we ended up having a bond that's lasted up to this day. And go ahead, don't be so shy.
But it goes back before the Flyers. You would watch games on Channel 48 on Saturday night, Ranger games, mid-60s?
Evidently, when we did UHF channels, Channel 48, 17, and 29 in Philly, I believe Channel 48 knew they were going to carry this new team, so they would give you a Saturday night hockey game. I guess they picked up the Rangers telecast, and my first recollection was, I think, at 65, 66.
Wow.
When Bobby Hull scored his 50th goal, against the Rangers at Chicago Stadium, and I was enamored with it. It was amazing. So we knew about it, and then, we knew about this new building, this new arena being put up called the Spectrum, and so I got really much involved with it. You did.
Well, what I had was watching. I don't remember the Channel 48 thing. Kaiser Broadcasting. Oh, there's the Spectrum. But I would watch Channel 9 for New York broadcast through the snow on a Sunday night. And I mean, it was 80% snow, and you could see these figures. And that had to be like 65, 66. So when the Flyers came out, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I got to go to 2 games that year, playoff games. My dad took me. We sat in the high end, probably section 40 or something. I saw Rosaire Paymon score a hat trick. They won game 5, and then they lost game 7. And I was at that game. They lost 3-1 to the Blues, and sad. But the sport grew that first year. You want to go back to Ed Snyder and how he brought the team here?
Yeah. I figured it best that we do that.
Expanding, and I felt that Philadelphia would be a great place
There's Eddie.
for the expansion teams.
or better known as Mr. Snyder.
Grand plans. They were going to build this new building, the Spectrum. We all laughed at them. Who are these guys? Not one of them, I think, had really ever been in a hockey rink in their entire life. A bunch of business guys from Philadelphia.
We went around to the various banks and they were totally disinterested.
What is it, soccer? And we said, no, it's hockey. And they said, well, hockey will never go over in Philadelphia.
Another sort of fell asleep during our presentation. But the last bank we went to, Girard Trust, fortunately, the vice president had played hockey at Harvard and loved hockey and had a lot of faith in what we were doing, and we got the loan.
After securing the $2 million expansion fee in February of 1966, the Philadelphia Flyers were officially welcomed to the NHL. Also newly minted were the St. Louis Blues,
The Blue.
Pittsburgh Penguins, Minnesota North Stars, California Seals, and Los Angeles Kings.
Philadelphia Flyers. Philadelphia claims Bernard Parent.
With their first pick in the
Bernard
1967 expansion draft, the Flyers selected Bernie Parent,
My favorite
a
Flyer of
young
all time.
French-Canadian goaltender left unprotected by the Boston Bruins. Joining Parent on the team's inaugural roster were players also discarded by the original six.
This is a great
To many of them,
about some of the
heading to
players that didn't even know where
Philadelphia
Philadelphia
was a
was.
fate far worse than rejection.
The guy come by him and he says, I just heard your name on the radio. I hear you being drafted by Philadelphia. He says, what? What are you talking about? He says, yeah, I didn't know I wasn't protected by Boston. So talk about disappointment.
Starting all over again with an expansion team did not really thrill me.
First of all, I had to go look on the map and see where the heck Philadelphia was.
We're coming over the old Penrose Avenue Bridge. And on the right-hand side, there's a machine there. I asked the bus driver, I said, what's that machine doing? He says, oh, that's grinding up body parts. What the hell am I
Old Philadelphia.
doing here?
People didn't know what hockey was. People had no idea what this sport. Skates.
They had a reception at City Hall for them, and they put them in open convertibles for a ride down Broad Street. There were no more than 20 people on the parade route.
People were wondering who in the heck we were and what was going on.
I saw somebody flip the bird at them, and he heard one other guy yell from the sidewalk, "You'll be in Baltimore by Christmas."
What the hell are we getting ourselves into here?
Though evidence of its role in the nation's birth was at every turn, the Philadelphia at which these young Canadians had arrived bore little resemblance to the history book version of the city. It was a hard-scrabble, beer and a hoagie kind of town,
And they're showing cheesesteaks instead of
heavily
hoagies.
defined by close-knit ethnic neighborhoods.
I'll
and a
settle for
working-class
that.
population set in its ways. Philly no longer appeared to be a place
The only thing we're missing here is Rocky. Here's the
particularly
Museum.
something
Give
as
him
absurd as
9
hockey.
years.
But there it was, in a
Our
state-of-the-art
second
arena
home.
on South Broad Street.
Bill Sutherland scored the goal to win the first game at the Spectrum, 1-0, before 7,000 people in what Bill Putnam, the team's president, described as the worst hockey game ever played.
It took a little while for the players to get to know each other. Once we did,
We beat
But it was a
Montreal, we beat
glorious
Boston.
time, though, wasn't it? Because
Absolutely. I mean,
And then one weekend.
was it the
in
first year that they were
February,
on WCAM radio, or was that a later year?
Spectrum. And that's when the crowds went from 4 digits to 5 digits.
Our fans took to it at that point. It built a momentum.
what a
shortly
future
thereafter,
Ed Snyder
the roof
was.
blew off, so it kind of interrupted our first season.
The high winds which halted work on the
There
It
was
the roof. The roof.
It,
ended.
got, it
55
was
games
built
into
too
their first
quickly
season,
for the roof to blow
Severe
out.
winds sent pieces of the
Yeah.
Spectrum roof up into the air, and their schedule along with it. Forced to play their remaining home games on the road, the Vagabond Flyers showed their resolve. With nimble skating and strong goaltending,
There's Bernie.
Yeah.
So yeah. So where'd they play,
Yeah.
Carl? They played Quebec
They
City,
had to go to Quebec City,
the Garden,
Madison Square Garden, and Toronto for a couple
and
games.
Toronto. Yeah, and they somehow held on to first place.
Yeah. And we would thank, using HBO's documentary that it did about 10, 12 years ago for that introduction, because we couldn't have done it any justice to try to talk about it. But with Mr. Snyder, as they used to call him, Ed Snyder, he was a visionary. He was part owner of the Eagles, wasn't he, at that time?
Jerry Woolman. Yep.
Jerry
That's
Woolman.
what
And he
it
was,
was.
Wallman was more in construction business and all that. But then, he mentioned that he was up in Boston one weekend with a friend, and he said, "Hey, you want to go to a hockey game?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." No, you want to go to the Garden, Boston Garden, thinking it was a Celtics game. No, it was the Bruins, and he fell in love with the sport, and then put a couple things together, and how he was barely able to get the financing for the franchise fee, which was to us $2 million, but back then $2 million, it's like what, roughly like $50 million now, almost, for something like that.
And they were close to going to Baltimore.
Yes, and if they didn't get it, they only had like maybe 2 weeks, and they could have gone to Baltimore. So make a long story short, they build a building. The franchise comes in. Very limited media. They couldn't even get a full game on radio. They would have to have a small station in Camden that had the third period on radio. Who would ever think you'd only get like a period of a hockey game on radio? But we couldn't wait. It was Spanish up until like at 9 o'clock. And then at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, they had it. And then we would be able to listen. Now, this is how ravenous we were for this sport. It was, teenagers, they gravitate to wherever you're going to go, whatever you're going to follow. And we fell in love with sports, baseball beginning, and then with this crazy sport that watching it live, once we saw a live game, television never does anything justice. You have to go to a live game. So,
but it was great. It was great how when the game came on the third period, Gene Hart would give you a breakdown, but he wouldn't tell you the score. You didn't find the score out until he went through the entire summary of first period, second period, and sometimes, after 2 periods now, it's 6-2 Detroit. It's like, oh, great. But that was the best thing. That's all you had, third period.
Yeah. And so it got through the first couple of years, and we would go to a couple of games. My dad took me to my first game. It was in November of 69, I believe, or 68. And my first time into the Spectrum, which was, to me, it was just absolutely amazing, going into a new arena. And I remember Dornhoefer had a fight with Bobby Orr that game. So it was, that's an aerial shot of the arena. It's been long gone, about 10, 12 years. But I always say it was my second home. I think it was your second home. That in subsequent podcasts, we'll talk about when we used to work at that building about 10, 12 years later on, and all those fun. But yeah, it was hastily built. As you can see, the framework, one of these rare pictures as it being built. But as arenas go now, it was very small, it was very intimate. But it was state of the art back then because we had old Convention Hall.
Yeah, we said this was our Coliseum, and if you compare it to the original Coliseum, not much different. But yeah, it was our home.
Yeah. So with sports, with us being, you said, we're baby boomers.
Yep.
That we're now reminiscing about a lot of our past and a lot of stuff so it's kind of cool.
No, we grew up with the Flyers. I mean, when we became teenagers, like you said, when we got to 69, we finally got to buy a pick-a-plan.
Yeah.
18 games out of 36 home games. And we were all excited that I would come down to your place in Atlantic City, and we'd get that schedule, and we'd pick 18 games. And we did that for, 2 years. It was 71, 72, 72, 73.
69, 70.
And then after 72, 73, you had to get a season ticket.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think it was a problem because obviously the interest was really fantastic. They were getting sold out, and we were the lucky ones that have the tickets because we never had any problem. So as the team evolved, it was a good skating team, but they were a short team, small skating team, and they would get the kicked out of them by the St. Louis Blues in certain playoff games. And they all talked about why, the Flyers, big, the Broad Street bullies, but the reason why they became that way is because the other teams used to just decimate it. And I know I took that documentary down, but Ed Snyder talks about one playoff game. What was it? Was it Barkley Plager or
no, Picard, Claude LaForge knocked teeth out. And then that's when Ed Snyder said, we're not going to get beat up like that anymore. That's when, boom, the draft with Selesky, Schultz, players like that. And then you had Kelly and, the Moose DuPonts. And
but they could not only beat you physically, but then they had the skilled players with Bobby Clark, McLeish, and Barber. So it was a very unique way. So, we're here for this podcast. This is our initial one, our premiere one. But down the road, we're going to be talking about historic events in our lifetime that we either witnessed live or on TV. We're going to be doing, probably in November, it'll be the 60th year of the assassination of President Kennedy. By then, I think I'll have a little bit more technical knowledge and be able to bring up certain aspects of it. Then we're also going to be talking about music. We're going to be talking about in our days at the Spectrum, but then when we worked for Spectagard, July 13th, 1985. We worked Live Aid. We'll be talking about that. Then we'll also be talking about, we're Italian from Philly, love of the ethnic movies of the day, because I've experienced in my lifetime certain group of guys that will be depicted in certain movies, but I experienced the Philadelphia version. And actually, we're going to be going to Vegas in a couple of weeks, and we're going to go to a museum called the Mob Museum, and hopefully we'll be able to do some flashbacks of the movies that we loved. So we're going to be doing a lot of things on this podcast, and then coming days and weeks and hopefully months, and hopefully we could get an audience. And if you're watching us on YouTube or anything, is like us and subscribe to this channel. If you have any questions or comments, and actually I have to say, our friend Rodney is watching live.
I see Rodney.
You see Rodney. Hello, Rodney. Thank you for your watching. My cousin Phil. And he actually was at a Flyers Minnesota game in 1983.
North Stars. Yeah, the Minnesota North Stars in 83.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, my cousin Billy, really historic. So, yeah, Rodney, thank you for supporting us here. Obviously, we'll get back to you guys with the generational experience. And I think to shout out to Rodney, too, because I have to bring this up, that for even to have this technology, that innocent phone call back in March that I did this TV show back in almost 40 years ago, California East under Team Club. And he was a breakdancer there. One thing led to another. I actually went back east, met with them, met with my cousin, put this whole thing together. We evolved out of that, and through a consultant, Daryl, let us know about StreamYard, that we were able to use the technology. And here I am back in California. And hey, the sky's the limit. So hopefully we can gather an audience. But our first one is like what do we call it, cuz? It was our God.
Hockey was our God. That's the line. That's the line you coined, and it was.
I coined it?
Yeah, you came up with it. I mean, we would never miss we never missed a game. Never.
God forbid.
The only games I missed, I remember. Oh boy, I didn't get a very good report card. So I was banned from some Flyer games, but we lived for it. I mean, that was the whole thing. Usually the games were Thursday night and Sunday night.
But then some Saturday afternoons.
Yeah, and then we had that Pittsburgh trip, remember? In March, was it March of 73? Last game of the year. McLeish scored his 50th goal.
Yeah, and we were, getting back a little bit before, and I think you brought it up in our conversation leading up to production for this today. I have to thank my dad that I lived in South Jersey. We had to go over the bridge. I didn't have my driver's license yet. I was only 16. You had to have a permit at 16 and then your license at 17. With filling up Pennsylvania, you could have it a year earlier. But I think he realized I was getting involved with something that was really, really good for somebody young. So he took me. He would take me over there, go to the game. He'd listen on radio, knowing when the game was going to be over, and he would pick me up. That he knew that I was going to get my license within 6 months to a year, that I'd be able to drive myself. But how it influenced us back then, and then as the team started going good, and we were having little jobs. I don't think we had anything really steady relationships. But then, hey, look at this. The Flyers are, McLeish was going for his 50th goal, one of their best players, and their last game of the season was going to be in Pittsburgh, but it was the first energy crisis. And we go, well, let's find out how much are plane tickets? How much were they?
$49, you said, right?
Yeah. What airline?
Allegheny Airlines.
Allegheny. So we did I'm 19 years old, my first flight, and we flew to Pittsburgh. And we had $40 in our pocket. And, we got a cab from the airport down to the downtown Pittsburgh, the old Igloo.
So movie.
Yes. So
the immigrants.
We did that, and we came back, and then the following year, that year, the Flyers really did really well, and it just so happens the Dornhofer goal. I technically should have that queued up, but I'm not going to try it now. But they beat Minnesota in the semifinals, and they went to Montreal that was the quarterfinals. So I was going to Italy on a trip to Italy that following week. So I have a transistor radio as we're driving up. I know that's another one. So we're at Kennedy Airport, ready to almost get ready for our flight to Italy. But it was the Flyers' first home game. They split with Montreal 1-1, and I heard that even Gary Dornhofer it was like a 20-minute standing ovation. Dorn, now you were there, right?
Yeah. Well, the first game the Flyers won, the first game won in Montreal, they won in overtime. McLeish scored a goal and it was 5-4. Yep, and they lost the second. And you're right, they got a long standing ovation for Game 3.
So talk about someone that was that crazy for the sport. Here I am going to Italy. I have a radio. Now, luckily, they were on 1210 at that time, so it was 50,000 watts. And I'm 19, going on 20. There's a lot of nice young ladies that are flirting and talking, whatever. Nah, I had the radio on, trying to listen through the snow, to pick up what was going on, So it shows, and I'm in Italy. There's no internet. There's nothing there. So I'd have to get an American newspaper, whatever it was, that would have a box score. And they go, oh, no, we don't put the sports in there for 2 days later. So I didn't know what happened until 2 days later. And actually, I had my parents say, we used to get the bulletin back then, the evening bulletin. And I said, do me a favor, save the sports sections so I could read them when I come home. So I talk about, fans and all that, and the way the technology has changed since then is amazing. But then again, we were at the right place at the right time when they had their absolutely amazing run to win.
Well, the good thing was when they wound up going to
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are
okay.
the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers have won the Stanley Cup.
Yep, but as I
Now,
told
all that
you,
celebration, we were there.
we were there. We were section
people do not
34,
understand.
09. And that's where I told you, and not many people know this. Bernie says he lost that puck that Orr shot with 6 seconds left. And he says if that hits the corner, it might go in the net. Wouldn't that make you throw up?
That would have been, we would have been, look, I was there at the vet for Black Friday But here's our proof.
$8.25. Stanley Cup Finals 74.
Now, that was the unused ticket for that season. Now, I always win those trivia bets. How much Stanley Cup Final, the ticket in 74. And actually, we were 25 cents higher. We thought it was $8.50. $8.25. Now, our season, what was the price of just the ticket just for the season?
I mean, I remember the first game I ever went to.
It was
like $3.50 for a game. I mean,
so that ticket only went up $1.25 for the playoffs.
Well, you weren't paying for
fees for this,
$800 million stadium.
I know. So, but it shows, our dedication.
Yeah.
And me as a photographer, the following year in 75, I bring my camera. Well, that celebration when they won the cup, it was, I was in college, I was doing communication, and I had my Super 8 because I had film school. I had my Super 8 camera, and I was taking Super 8 film of us going down to the lower level, you running out down the steps, and actually my transition to move out here of all the videotapes transferred to VHS, I could not find it because that would have been invaluable here. But what was the significance of that afternoon? We all went
into the evening. Well, first of all, we left the arena, went outside.
It was mad.
And there were women in there was various stages of undress at the corner of Broad and Patterson, but
well, that was a street
time there. And then at night, what did we do?
Well, we went back to my cousins. We walked everywhere.
Yeah.
We walked back to my cousins, the Vasilis, Carol and Jackie, my Aunt Josie, my Uncle John. And obviously the whole city is celebrating. And I always remember it was a very warm May day. So my cousins, they had the front door open in South Philadelphia, very tight-knit and as they were getting closer to winning, my cousin was screaming at the top of her lungs, and some people that weren't oblivious that it was a hockey game going on for a championship called the police and said, somebody's screaming. And I went to the house and I knocked on the door like, aren't you watching the Flyers? The cop goes, yeah, okay, no problem. So we go, we have dinner. The whole city is crazy. It's amazing. And Carol went with us to where? Where did we go? Back to the Spectrum.
Went to the Spectrum and saw the first game ever played by the Philadelphia Wings against the Maryland Arrows. And that's when it was a real man's game. They didn't wear helmets. And it was great. I mean, they got good crowds for the Arrows. And I still remember the players, Carm Collins and John Lloyd, John Grant.
You call them the Arrows?
That was
they were the Wings. You call them the Arrows. They were the Wings.
Oh, the Wings, right. The Wings became the Arrows, right? The Wings.
No, they were never the Arrows.
No. Maryland Arrows.
Oh, excuse me.
Maryland Arrows. That was their opponent that first night. But that was a great doubleheader.
Well, who would have thought? They win the Stanley Cup, and then I got to change over to box lacrosse. And us as sports fanatics for that building, I don't think there's an event that we never saw. We went in there for box lacrosse. We went in there for indoor soccer. We went in there for, obviously, 76ers basketball, college basketball, wrestling. We'll talk about that.
The only thing maybe we didn't see was boxing. I never worked a boxing event.
No, not at the Spectrum. I saw boxing in Atlantic City, but never there.
And I got boxing at the Blue Horizon.
But going 1 year later, when the Flyers were just as good, they made this but I, with my camera, and I took this picture, and I finally caught a goal. Now, what describe that goal, Ben?
Well, it was Game 7. The Flyers had won the first 3 games. They played the first third game they played. They actually beat the Islanders 1-0 at the Island, and then boom, the Islanders won Game 4 at home. And basically they won the next 3 games. Game 7. This is Game 7. Dornhofer from the right wing, obviously, shoots and beats and scores 11 seconds in. And the Flyers went on to win that game. I think it was like 4-1.
Always remember the sound of that goal because it has the back. There's that metal spot right like in the middle of the crease of the back of the net that hit it. And then you could see it and you could hear that sound. And then all of those people, you could hear all the people behind the net raise it, and that, raised the level of that too. So, yeah, it's
what we talked about this afternoon, that when you look at that picture, you don't have goal lights anymore. Well, you don't have the green and red lights 8 feet up.
Yeah, right. You can see the top.
You have that horizontal bar. And then I said, what a dope I was. I didn't realize till last year there's no goal judge anymore.
No.
I mean, that's how the game
started. And they can't afford them.
They didn't pay for them. They got free tickets.
Of course.
George Torchiana and Bud Prowl.
Oh, God.
Were game the first
Say
year.
those names again? George Torchiana and Bud Prowl.
George Torchiana. And Dusty Feldbomber and Cy Coco. I mean,
what was the announcement at the hockey games before the game?
The announcer, public
announcement for fans in case they were worried about something. Hockey pucks, like baseballs.
What's that?
Frequently leave the playing area if you.
The announcement, yeah. If you choose to not watch this game, screw yourself. I know. Yeah,
yeah, well, yeah, right. No, we don't want to get hit by a puck. We're going to leave. Yeah, really? Come on. So,
but there were such good times. I mean, I was like, watch this afternoon. I was checking up on some Flyers stats, and we were talking about the Flyers announcers. And back in '69, somebody had Pat Scheller. Pat Scheller had reffed the year before. He retired and became an announcer in '69, along with Larry Zeidel, who was a Flyer in '69. I mean, the pathway to get from '67 to '73, it wasn't good stuff winning wise, but a lot of interesting stuff. I mean,
it was our entertainment. It was like, we would go to school. We would go. You were in Temple. I was at Glassboro. We had our part-time jobs. You were at what? I was at Wanamaker's. Summertime I would work with my dad, or a little bit of construction. But then we'd always be geared for sports. Hockey was our main thing.
Yeah.
But then how it drifted down to how hockey infected the whole Delaware Valley in street hockey leagues. And look what we tried to be. Hold on.
I'm the handsome one on the left and the better player.
I'll admit.
And you had aspirations to be a referee.
And I was a great referee.
Well, it depends on how you define the term.
1978?
Probably. Maybe the year before that, Carlucci, because the year after that, wasn't that the year that my team that won the Cherry Hill Aces?
Right.
I think, yeah. But, yeah, this was at Highland High School.
And Blackwood.
And the boards, there was no boards. It was just a piece of blacktop, and then it extended about 18 inches up to and it was with a ball. Look at that. There's the old Milex sticks. Oh my God.
Yeah, and our long
hair. One is sitting on the look at that. I look like Keith Hernandez. Between Keith Hernandez and a porn star.
But we thought, well, look, you were a good player, and and it evolved into a heck of a into a league in Jersey.
Oh, Runnymede, yeah.
In Runnymede.
That's not me.
No,
that goalie is not photogenic like I was.
So just through the whole Delaware Valley, there was hockey leagues everywhere, street hockey. Now, it's not on ice. There was still ice, but you get a net, you get the sticks, you get the gloves. And over in Runnymede, New Jersey, it was not a regulation rink, but it was a rink with
Excuse me? That was a regulation rink.
It was 200 by 85?
It was 180, yeah. Oh, that blue line was 60 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So
are those holes in the net?
Yeah. Now, I'm the one who ended up talking to the cable people. This was a 1980 championship between Lindenwold and Barrington, and they did this on, the closed circuit, their local channel 2. I really wish I was able to get that. This is even before VCRs. So you seen the different pictures?
What the hell is that? Pitt Martin with the 15, the red
Yes,
helmet?
Pitt
What the heck
Martin.
is that?
So yeah, this is how it evolved into this
It was like
league
Kazoo.
that I became a referee, and a very good one at that.
Well, oh God, bye.
And that was a championship. Lindenwold won the championship that year. But
how could you not have taken pictures of my championship team?
I didn't look. I don't know.
I don't see anything here. I see these incompetent. We lost like 2 games all year.
Hey, I apologize.
Did you take pictures of the Lazat brothers?
Oh yeah, let me bring that
Remember
back
the
up.
Lazat brothers? Remember
Wow.
2 years earlier the Tom Hoffman team that
Well, that
we
was
didn't
the one
play?
we're talking about. That was the one
Yeah.
Lazat brother.
Yeah, but we didn't play them. We didn't play the finals because we were scared shitless of the Maple Shade
Well,
Brawlers.
yeah.
I mean, that one guy looked like Frankenstein's older sister. I mean,
I have to say, I was a pretty decent photographer. Like you could actually see the ball, going. They didn't use a puck; they would use the ball. And
I'll give you that you're a good photographer. Refereeing,
there's a lot. That's the best one. Lazat, Bobby Lazat.
Bobby Lazat.
Yeah.
I tell you what, the best shooter in that league, fortunately, played for our team. Bob Gale, just from 60 from the point. I mean, the ball, ball moves. I mean, I played in front. I always tell the defenseman, don't give him 60-foot shots. I'll stop at 20-foot. 60 feet, never liked those. The further out the shot, the more it curves and.
Yeah.
But that was fun. Look at that. Oh, handsome.
Yeah, that's the best shot I had.
That was great. It was just a great place to play. And you had teams what? Barrington, Lindenwold, Cherry Hill,
yeah,
Pine Hill, I think. Yeah. I mean, there was like a good number of teams. 8 teams. Kramer. I remember Kramer Hill was the Tom Hoffman League, but
that's our television, the interviewing the game before the game on local.
Oh, yeah, Buck Owens with they all look like porn stars.
Yeah. What a time,
I remember we had a postseason award ceremony thing. Oh my God. So I won the goaltending award. I guess you called it Vezina. I look at it and it's something I get tortured to this day. They put Vince Ferrani. And they say, no, this isn't Vince Ferrani. You didn't win that thing. This is for Vince Ferrani. They spelled my last name wrong.
You still got it?
It's somewhere, I hope. I mean, and it had a picture of me making a save. I just loved it. That was just great time.
That shows that we were just, at that age that we got involved with it. And I realized I sucked as a player. But I was a great referee. And so the year before, you were a very good goalie. Excellent goalie. So what happened between me and you?
Well, let's go backwards. Remember when the Flyers won the cup? You came to where I lived at the playground, and after they won the cup, I think it was the next night you were over, and we were playing. And all the goaltenders were trying to imitate the Bernie toenail save on the Ken Hodge shot with 2 minutes left. I mean, that's all you did. I mean, that's what we did. We just imitate.
No, I'm talking about me being the referee.
I'm trying to get off the subject, Paul. You want me to tell you how bad you were?
No, but wait a second. I know nobody's watching, but when they watch this subsequently, he was a very good goalie, and a lot of goalies are very aggressive. But then he started spearing the guy in front of him. I said, I gave you a warning. I said, Ben, stop spearing him. Stop spearing him.
I wasn't spearing him in the balls. I mean, come on.
You were still, okay. Oh, okay.
Jeez.
So after the third one, I finally called early on you. And then where did you go?
Oh, my God. Yeah, I was not nice. I called you a piece of shit or something. But, that was fun. That was just fun. I remember one time I missed a game because it snowed. And I thought game was postponed. Nah, we still played. But
I know.
That was fun.
I have a picture of me somewhere in a rain park in a driving rainstorm.
Refereeing?
As a referee in the but it was love, and you enjoyed it. You're out there, you're getting with the guys. It's athletic, and some of those guys were amazing. Now,
Very good players.
It's a shame that it did have fighting, and some of the fights got too bad, and then the cops had to get called, and people said, "What happened to that league?" Well, the neighbors, not that they were that close, but they were like there was too much going on, and they finally closed it down because it got too dangerous for people. And
it's funny, the year before, Carl, when our team won, I was the tallest guy on our team. I'm playing goal, and I'd have a 5'6" defenseman start crap with a player who's in front of it because they're in my way. It's like don't and I would be there like Ken Dryden with a stick under the chin. But we had just like the Flyers, we had some tough guys, but we had great players. In fact, we cherry-picked the guys from the team I played with at Temple, our rec league there. We had 3 or 4 Italians, and they were all good players. And you mix them with all the guys that we had. I think we only lost 2 games all year. Really good team.
Yeah, but I think that
going back to our love of hockey, you'd come over, we'd go out to the schoolyard, we put the net out there. I wouldn't wear pads, and everybody would be trying to score X number of goals in X number of seconds. I had no pads, and like my brother-in-law, he would get the ball and he'd like golf it up like he was on his team. And from 20 feet, he'd be taking these slap shots at a goalie with no pads. But we love that.
Yeah, there's so many ways I could talk about where we're going to go, what we're going to do, but I figured, for some reason it's not cooperating with me right now. But we're at 42 minutes right now. Where we going to go with this down the road? I know right now it's Wednesday evening. I think we are live wherever we're going. Nobody's watching, but who cares? Hopefully we'll end up getting an audience.
We didn't publicize it really, so yeah.
I know. And we'll do a rebroadcast, but I think we're going to probably do maybe 1 or 2 a week. And and I think to give you a little tidbit of what we're going to do, probably the next one, we'll get into this. So
First 1,000 young
we all remember where you were when you saw this scene. So it's a little yes. The classic one of all of them was The Godfather. And
I think we could do it. They got a tank. I think we can get a gun behind.
We got the bowl and the chain thing, So, Clemens will get it. Don't worry, it'll be there. But that's just a little caveat about what we're going to do next time. But I think there's so much more that we could talk about. But I know 42 minutes, 43 minutes doesn't give it justice. But maybe just a little, as they say, little taste.
Just a taste.
A little taste of what
wet your beak. Wet your beak.
Wet our beak. Yes, we are 2 baby boomers. I pretty close to 70, but I think our age bracket is experienced so much, and the music that we loved, and I think we're going to try to get this out to an audience out there throughout the country, throughout the world, and hopefully we can get an audience. But our first one with our name, Talking with Cuz. We're 2 cousins that are like brothers, and we've experienced a lot of things in the sports world that kept us together. And then other little social things are working. And, and at our age now, they're like, hey, we're talking coast to coast on certain nights when you're off and I'm working, I'm doing something else, and we're just shooting the shit, as they say. And it's like now with this technology, it's like, yeah, why don't we do this and put it out there and just see what happens? And I think overall for our first one, not too bad. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted us to talk about that maybe I forgot?
Yeah, I think we should have named this Talking with Cousin Vinny.
They all say, you got a cousin Vinny? Yes, I got a cousin Vinny. I said, it's Vince.
So you know what? We had no idea how much. I mean, I had all these notes, and I think we probably hit a third of the thing. So, it's fun. You find topics like motion sci-fi picture, like that the mobster movies, stadiums, old time stadiums. I mean, I always think a good topic is going to be the Mount Rushmore of greatest athletes for every major city.
Yeah.
Well,
just to give you a little another tidbit about stadiums. Well, what's our favorite from the past?
Connie Mack Stadium. There it is. Who saw it? There it is.
Now, it was taken down. My first time there was in 1962, or I think it was 63. And we are the generation of black and white TV. And then going to a ball game and first time going into a stadium, seeing the red seats, the plush green grass. And as you always say, that I didn't realize until we were analyzing some of these pictures, Connie Mack Stadium had this wall in right field. But as you can see, it's a gray field up until the scoreboard, and then it's black when you get to the center field outfield. So, and here's another one that.
Well, I was going to say, Carl, shame on you for posting a picture with a 4-row with the moved in center field, but I'll let that go.
Pity. But then, from Connie Mack, you go to the construction of the Vet and the building. And JFK Stadium, which was historic in a lot of other ways. But then other subsequent ones will say the history of Philadelphia and what in the foreground, and we could date this by what's not showing.
In the foreground, wait a second. I mean, that's Vet Stadium right there.
I mean, like behind, what's not showing yet at all.
Oh, 95?
You got it.
Yeah.
So 95, if you see, people that have subsequently watched this down.
That would be behind
JFK Stadium. So that was being started to be built in 1970, 71. So this has to be 68, 69, because the Vet's not even halfway up. So that's our second home, that middle building. The Vet became, another one that we would go to for many, many other events, baseball, soccer, concerts in there, so
truck pulls or the food pulls. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. And then before it was even dedicated, we were able to, because the fencing wasn't really that secure, we were able to get in there and see the stadium and how it was. So it's, down the road, we'll be talking about a lot of things for the Philadelphia area, Cherry Hill Arena, places like that, old convention hall in Philadelphia, the Palace. Yeah. So,
Philly announcers, Philly sports announcers.
Well, yeah, actually, somebody was on there about Les Kiter talking.
Ringtail howitzers.
Yes, and I put down the bomb scare. You thought that was channel no, that was still on channel 6. It's right before the UHF channels came on. And it's another trivia question. He went to Hawaii,
yeah,
afterwards. But then what prominent Philly announcer started his minor league career in Hawaii?
I'm not going to say, was that Harry Callis?
Yeah. You did a couple seasons, the Hawaiian Islanders, then went to the Houston Astros. And the owner, I think, they ended up going to, why he came to Philly.
Bill Giles.
Bill Giles, yeah. And so that's how that goes. So down the road, we'll be doing history of announcers, stadiums, arenas, because at one time I could just see by the dashboards, the angle of the seats and lighting,
where you were, the organ player,
or the stadiums, and classic stadiums, and then that one. I still think that's an iconic picture. Before it was retrofitted, that's got to be like early. This is the 60.
Look at that. Look how short the left field porch is.
Yes, no screen. Yeah, that Yankee Stadium. with
Then it's
60,000.
920 feet to left center field. I mean, that's the beauty of those stadiums.
But
Yeah.
then everybody's saying the GOAT, the best of all, greatest of all time.
And that's the
This is
spectrum without a
number
third level.
Yeah, this is number 1 and number 2. If anybody doesn't know who they are, it's Will Chamberlain and Bill Russell. Their first year at the Spectrum. Look how clean the Spectrum looks, before the third level. So, anyway, subsequent ones we'll be talking about all this. Concerts there, 72 when the Stones were there with Stevie Wonder opening up, and one final one that goes way back.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Army-Navy game. John F.
Yeah.
Kennedy. Wow.
Well, yeah, it was the year before he was assassinated, and it was called Municipal Stadium at that point. And it was named after him after his death. So,
And they'd get 105,000 people there.
102.
And the Thrill Show would be there.
Yeah, the Thrill Show. And a trivia there that we're going to do one on the Beatles, because obviously the Beatles, and you can see my little poster with the Beatles behind me, Beatles 65, that they played Convention Hall in September 2nd of 64, 12,000 people. When they toured, they didn't come in 65, they came in Philadelphia in 66, August 16th. They played at JFK. Guess how many people they had?
12,000.
20. But the
Oh,
promoter,
that's what you said. That's what you said. They
all he wanted to do was sell 20. You have a stadium that seats 100,000 people. Now, we realized they weren't drawing like they were in 65. Even the second Beatles at Shea Stadium only drew like little, right around 48, 49, 50,000 rather than the 55. But that's all I'm going to sell, 20,000. Okay.
Wow. Not a problem.
Nothing was a problem. So, and then Sayings. We got a problem. So, saying some mob movies and other movies, and then science fiction movies. I like to go 2001, 2010, the ending of 2010. So, in closing, my cuz, anything else to say? Anything else we didn't bring up? As far as I know, we used the Flyers as our first one, as our first love, our first God. And no, not first God. We all know who our God is. I'm not trying to be a John Lennon now. Can you imagine him in the first one? That guy thinks, Flyers were his God.
Take him off the air. He was blasphemous. Yeah.
They're already going to get rid of me on my first one. That was a mistake. I didn't mean that.
I mean, this was a lot of fun. We talk about sports and life, and now's the first time you put it into a podcast. And hopefully it'll be interesting. Some people find it interesting and can join in, but it's not us trying to just talk about things we like. We don't talk about things that other people might reminisce about or want to talk
Hopefully
about.
we could find an audience. We thank Rodney for watching and mentioning it. I'm glad he does, and we'll go back on his podcast soon. So in closing, cuz, what do you think? Not bad for the first one, because what I have to put up 23 years.
Oh, good Lord.
23 years earlier. Actually, it's the top right-hand corner. I don't think I downloaded it.
That's you and Eugene Levy.
Yeah. There was a thing called Sports Max in 2000. And my dear friend Anthony and I were involved with it. It was in Voorhees. It was way before YouTube and Facebook. And they actually paid us. And we talked sports for 2 hours on a Saturday and a Sunday. It was a lot of fun. And
we got paid $1 million.
We got paid $18.
How much did we get paid to do 1540 AM in Vineland? Remember that?
You were there. No. It was 1360 in oh yeah, we did
Vineland.
No, it was 12. It's 92.1 in Vineland. It's an FM station. No, you were at the one in the AM station with Anthony at 1360. Yeah.
We made $10 an hour there, didn't we?
Oh yeah, a lot of money.
Or did we pay? No, it was free. I don't know. You had to pay.
You had to pay for that. You had to pay for.
Yeah, you got to pay for. Yeah, Anthony. Yeah, I got it.
But that was 2000, and we were we had ties on. We were professional, but nobody watched that either. But
we're frustrated announcers, and critics.
We're just a bunch of guys. Look, through social media,
Yep.
Facebook, Instagram, everybody's an instant star. But we're at a little different age, and hopefully we can get an audience and have some other ones, and people could let us know how you feel, and move on from there. So, anything closing remarks, my cuz?
I'm good. I think we accomplished a lot for the first go round, and hopefully we'll get better as we do it and get some people who watch.
Yeah, it's fun that we got our little bit of our logos and our let's see, get our logo back. Had to have the graphic artist do our logo and our intro and our outro because we gave him just a general idea, and he liked it.
Yeah.
So we good?
Very nice. We're good.
All right, guys, and we thank anybody who will watch this subsequently on a repeat, as we'll probably try to reschedule this over the weekend, and we could have some people watch. And
then maybe Monday, right? Maybe the
Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, Monday we could maybe do a pre-production, and maybe Tuesday night we could do it, and we'll go from there. So in closing, for Talking with Cuz Premier Podcast, myself, Carl Candela, coming from California, my cousin Vince Ferrari coming from Mount Laurel, New Jersey, which is now almost 11 o'clock at night. We say goodbye till next time.